हेलो दोस्तों, बिगनर्स पॉइंट में आपका स्वागत है। और अभी हम कर रहे हैं पॉलिटी। ये 6th क्लास की क्या है, सोशल साइंस की बुक है, जिसमें कि पॉलिटी और सारी चीज़ें, हिस्ट्री और सब कुछ इंक्लूड है। लेकिन पॉलिटी 9 से वैसे स्टार्ट होती है, लेकिन यहाँ से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं हम, ठीक है। तो ये है फर्स्ट चैप्टर। इससे पहले एक वीडियो बना रखी है, अगर नहीं देखी तो फिर जाकर आप देख सकते हैं, प्लेलिस्ट बना दी है। Imagine that you are visiting a city for the first time. How would you find the places you want to visit? You might ask a local person for help, or you might look at a map of the city. In previous grades, you learn a little about maps, and in this chapter, we will study them in more details. Let us play a game. Examine the map of this small city, figure 1.1. Imagine that you just got off a train at the railway station and you want to visit the bank marked on the map. Which way would you go? Are there other possible ways? Can you locate the public garden, the school, and the museum? If you want to proceed from the bank to the market, which way will you go? This is where a map comes in handy. ये मैप है। रेलवे स्टेशन जाना है, हॉस्पिटल जाने के लिए रोड है, फिर स्कूल जाने के लिए, मार्केट जाने के लिए, नगर पंचायत, बैंक जाने के लिए, पार्क में जाने के लिए। ये नॉर्थ बता दिए, ये ईस्ट है, वेस्ट है और साउथ है, ठीक है। अ मैप इज़ लाइक अ ट्रेजर गाइड. इट शोज you where things are and how to get to them. Notice the 4 arrows in the top right corner of the map. Yeah. We will soon see how they point to some specific directions and make maps even more helpful. A map and its components. From this simple example, we understand that a map is a representation or a drawing or of some area. It may be a small area, a village, a town, etc. A bigger area, say your district or state, or a very large area like Indian or even the whole world. In a map, you look at the surface as if you are viewing it from the top. An atlas is a book or collection of maps. As you will discover, there are several kinds of maps. Physical maps, which mainly shows some natural features such as mountains, oceans and rivers. See an example, figure 5.2 in this textbook. Political maps, which show details of countries or states, boundaries, cities, etc. For instance, a map of India with all its states, union territories and their capitals. Thematic maps with a specific kind of information. Example include figure 6.3, figure 8.1 in the textbook. In addition, there are 3 important components of maps: distance, direction and symbol. You have already experienced the first 2 while navigating the map in figure 1.1. Let us now define them more precisely. Have you ever wondered how a huge place can fit on a small piece of paper? It is all thanks to the map scale. Let us go back to our map of a scale city, figure 1.1. Each centimeter of the map printed here represents a certain distance on the ground. Let us suppose it is 500 meters. We say that the scale is 1 centimeter equals to 500 meter. Now turn to the map of India in figure 5.2. In chapter 5 of this textbook, the scale is represented in bottom left corner by a ruler with 500 written of its length and kilometer on the side. It simply means that this ruler, which measures 2.5 centimeter in the printed map, corresponds to 500 kilometers on the ground. So the actual distance between 2 print points represents on the map depends on the scale that the map is using. Let us return to the 4 arrows at the top right of the small city's map. They point to 4 directions, which are north at the top and moving clockwise east, south and west. These are called the cardinal directions and also cardinal points. Other than these, intermediate directions are also used: northeast, southeast, southwest and northwest. Most maps simply have an arrow marked with the letter N, which points to the north direction. यहाँ पे एन कर देंगे तो फिर मतलब कि नॉर्थ डायरेक्शन, एन ई मतलब कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट, ई मीन्स ईस्ट, एस ई मतलब साउथ ईस्ट, एस इक्वल्स टू साउथ, साउथ वेस्ट, वेस्ट और नॉर्थ, एन डब्ल्यू नॉर्थ वेस्ट. Symbols are another important component of maps. Our map has a small drawing of actual buildings and a few other elements, but there would not be enough space on the map of a large city or a country to draw them all. Instead, a symbol is used to represent these features, symbols for different kind of buildings. For instance, a railway station, a school, a post office, for road and railway lines, and for natural elements such as a river, a pond, a forest. In that way, numerous details can be shown in the limited space available on a map. To make maps more easily understood by a variety of users, map makers use specific symbols. Different countries use different sets of symbols. The Survey of India, a government body, has fixed a set of symbols for maps of India or parts of India. A small selection of them is shown in figure 1.2 on page 12. मैप में किस तरीके से लाइन ड्रॉ करते हैं? रेलवे स्टेशन के लिए रेलवे लाइन, बोर्ड गेज, मीटर गेज, रेलवे स्टेशन, रोड्स मेटल्ड अनमेटल्ड, ये वाली मेटल अनमेटल, बाउंड्री इंटरनेशनल स्टेट डिस्ट्रिक्ट, रिवर वेल टैंक कैनाल ब्रिज, रिवर वेल टैंक कैनाल ब्रिज, टेम्पल चर्च मस्जिद छतरी, पोस्ट ऑफिस, पोस्ट एंड टेलीग्राफ ऑफिस, पुलिस स्टेशन, पोस्ट टेलीग्राफ ऑफिस और पोस्ट ऑफिस, सेटलमेंट एंड ग्रेवयार्ड, सेटलमेंट ग्रेवयार्ड, ट्रीज एंड ग्रास ट्री. Mapping the Earth. Mapping the Earth is a little more difficult because our planet is not a flat surface. It nearly has the shape of a sphere. We say nearly because it is not a perfect sphere but is slightly slanted at the poles. However, in practice, we will consider it to be spherical. Representing a sphere accurately on a flat sheet of paper is not possible. To understand why, peel an orange in such a way that you have just 3 or 4 large pieces of the skin, then try and flatten them on a table. You will see that you cannot do it without tearing them at the edges. Now consider a globe, which is a sphere on which a map is drawn. This may be a map of the Earth, the Moon, the planet Mars, the stars and constellations in the sky, etc. The physical object like the one shown in the drawing on the next page is a sphere that is generally made of metal, plastic or cardboard. Here we will study the globe representing the Earth's geography because the globe and the Earth have the same spherical shape. A globe will better represent geography of the Earth than a flat map. Let us now explore some of its features. Understanding coordinations. Imagine a big market in a city or town with neat rows of shops, all the same size. You want to meet a friend at a stationery shop inside the market, but your friend does not know where the shop is. So you would give directions like meet me at 6 p.m. at the 7th shop in the 5th row from the entrance. This will allow your friend to precisely determine your location. Now consider a chessboard to record moves by advanced players. Letters are placed alongside the main piece A to H. See the image, and numbers 1 to 8 in between the two sides. This simple system allows players to mark each square and record every move. Here, the white side has just opened the game by moving the queen's pawn 2 squares forward, a very common opening. So the pawn is said to have moved from d2 to d4. The system used in these two examples may be called a system of coordinates. Thanks to their two coordinates, the stationery shop as well as the chess square on the chessboard can be precisely determined. A similar system of coordinates is used in the world of maps to determine the location of any place on a map. Let us see how this system works. Latitudes. Let us return to the globe. It is easy to identify the North Pole and the South Pole on it. Rotate the globe while it rotates. The fixed point at the top and bottom are the two poles. Halfway between them is the equator. Note the circle marking it. See figure point 1. Imagine that you stand on the equator and travel towards one of the poles. Your distance from the equator increases. Latitude measures this distance from the equator. At any point of this travel, you can draw an imaginary line that runs east and west. East, west, north, south. Parallel to the equator, such a line is called parallel of latitude. Parallel means CA, and it draws a circle around the earth. Again, it is easy to note on the globe that the largest circle is the equator, while the circles marked by the parallels of latitudes grow smaller as we move northward or southward. Latitudes are expressed in degrees by convention. The equation is at latitude 0 degree, while the latitude of the two poles are 90 degree north and 90 degrees south respectively. This noted 90 degree north and 90 degree south. There is a connection between latitude and climate around the equator. The climate is generally hot. It is also called torrid. As you travel away from the equator towards one of the two poles, in other words, as your latitude increases, the climate becomes more moderate or temperate, and closer to the north or south pole, the climate grows colder or frigid. You will learn in science why this is so. And also why we experience different seasons in the course of a year. ये हमारा ग्लोब है, यहाँ पे है नॉर्थ पोल, और ऐसे ही अगर नीचे चले जाएंगे इसके एकदम नीचे का जो पोर्शन होगा वहाँ पे होगा 90 डिग्री साउथ पोल. ये वाली लाइन जो होती है इक्वेटर हो जाती है, और ये नॉर्थ लैटिट्यूड, ठीक है, वेस्ट लॉन्गिट्यूड, साउथ लॉन्गिट्यूड, इधर नॉर्थ अमेरिका, यूरोप, एशिया, अफ्रीका. Longitudes. Imagine now that you travel from the North Pole to South Pole by the shortest possible line. इस वाली लाइन से अगर जाते हैं North Pole to South Pole. Observe the globe. You will see that instead of passing through the Europe and Africa, you could just as well pass through Asia. The distance would be the same. These lines are called meridians of longitudes. They are all half circles running from one pole to the other. You will also learn in science that the earth spins on its axis. To put it simply, let's place a desk lamp a little away from our globe. Focused on it, imagine that this is the sun illuminating the earth, slowly rotating the globe eastward. We can note that for some places on the earth it is morning, while for others it is midday, evening, or night. When it's breakfast time in one country, it's lunch time in another, and in a third country pole are fast asleep. That is why measuring the longitude of a place, we will also be measuring the time at the place. Let us see how. To measure longitudes, we need to define a reference point called the prime meridian. It is also called Greenwich meridian because in the year 1884 some nations decided that the meridian passing through Greenwich, an area of London in England, would become the international standard for the prime meridian. It is marked as 0 degree longitude. Just as longitude is a measure of the distance from the equator if you travel towards one of the poles, longitude is a measure of the distance from the prime meridian if you travel along the equator. Longitude too is measured in degrees, westward or eastward. It increases in value from 0 degree to 180 degree with the letter W or E added. From instance, using around figures, now New York's longitude is 74 degree west, while Delhi is 77 degree east and Tokyo is 140 degree east. Longitude and latitude and longitude together are the two coordinates of a place. With them, you are now able to locate any place on the earth. You can now understand a statement such as Delhi lies 29 degree north latitude and 77 degree east longitude. These values are rounded off and not exact. Figure 1.3 on page 15 shows the parallels of latitude and the meridians of longitude together on the globe has blue lines. All these lines together constitute a grid for the globe. They are also called grid lines. Greenwich meridian, equator, western hemisphere, नॉर्दर्न हेमीस्फेयर ये हो जाएगा, ईस्टर्न हेमीस्फेयर इधर और साउदर्न नीचे की साइड हो जाएगा. The Greenwich meridian is not the first prime meridian. There were others in the past. In fact, many centuries before Europe, India had a prime meridian of its own. 1.5 figure. It was called Madhya Rekha or middle line and passed through the city of Ujjain, today Ujjain, which was a reputed center for astronomy over many centuries. Varhamir, a famous astronomer, lived and worked there some 1500 years ago. Indian astronomers were aware of concepts of latitude and longitude, including the need for a zero or prime meridian. The Ujjaini meridian became a reference for calculations in all Indian astronomical texts. The map shows a few ancient Indian cities close to the Ujjaini meridian. Some are very close to it, while others are little away. That is because measuring longitude required accurate timekeeping, which was not a precise them as it is today. 75.8 degree east, Kurukshetra, Rohtak, Delhi, मालवन नगर, उज्जैन, माहेश्वर, कोलकाता, बेंगलुरु, चेन्नई, मुंबई, ये पूरी लाइन थी. ठीक है. The Ujjaini prime meridian used in ancient Indian astronomy. Cities marked with a circle are mentioned in astronomical text as being on this meridian. The modern name is given after the oblique bar. This map, published by Survey of India, shows the countries outline along with a few parallels of latitude and meridians of longitude. India's latitude extend approximately from 8 degree north to 37 degree north and longitudes approximately from 68 degree east to 97 degree east. The two colors have been added. Understanding time zones. Let's make the globe rotate again from the west to east. That is how our planet spins around its axis, making a full turn every 24 hours. A full turn is 360 degree, so this means 15% per hour. 15 into 24, 360. Let us now mark the meridians of longitude every 15 degree. Morning eastward from the prime meridian, we get 0 degree, 15 degree east, 30 degree east, 45 degree east, and so on every 15 degree up to 180 degree east. It is the same as adding 1 hour of local time with each meridian. If it is 12 pm or noon at Greenwich, it is 1 pm local time at 15 degree east, 2 pm at 30 degree east, and so on. But going westward, it is the other way round. 11 am local time at 15 degree west, 10 am at 30 degree west, etc. 9 am 45 degree west, 10 am 30 degree west, 11 am 15 degree west, or 12 am 15 degree 0 degree. Either 15 degree this side and this side increase 15 degree. 1 pm is 15 degree east, 2 pm 30 degree east, 3 pm 45 degree east. The same method can be used to calculate the local time of any place on earth, but it would not be convenient for a country to use many local times. That is why most countries adopt a standard time based on a meridian passing through them. Indian Standard Time IST is a 5 hour 30 minutes, also noted 5.5 hours ahead of the local time in at Greenwich Mean Time GMT. All these standard times are organized in the time zones which broadly follows the zone of 15 degree in the graph, figure 1.7. But let us consider the world map. Blue figure 1.8, we can see that the lines dividing the time zones are not fully straight. This is because they have to respect each country's standard time and therefore tend to follow international borders. The numbers written inside some countries are the numbers of hours to be added to GMT to get their standard times if they have a positive sign, or subtracted from GMT if they have a negative sign. इधर आ जाएगा पैसिफिक ओशियन, फिर एटलांटिक ओशियन, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, पैसिफिक ओशियन. Similarly, the globe figure 1.9 centered on India shows standard times with the respect of GMT for the few countries. अब यहाँ पे है ये ज़ीरो टाइम. इसके अगर इधर चलेंगे, इधर की साइड चाइना, इधर इंडिया आ जाएगा. इंडिया में क्या लिखा है, +5.5 GMT. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे इससे +5.5 कर देंगे तो इंडिया का टाइम आ जाएगा. ऐसे इधर माइनस करते हैं. Finally, while the prime meridian was fixed at Greenwich, the opposite line at approximately 180 degree longitude is called the international date line. As you can see on the map, the 12th +12 and -12 time zones touch each other at this line. If you cross it by ship or plane, you need to change the date in your watch. If you cross it traveling eastward, you subtract a day, say from Monday to Sunday. If you cross it traveling westward, you add a day from Sunday to Monday. We said that the international date lines approximately at 180 degree longitude as it deviates in places to avoid dividing some countries into two different days. Before we move on, maps are very useful tool to represent an area of the earth, whether small or large. The main components of maps are distance, directions, and symbols. Every place on the earth has a location which can be precisely defined with the help of a grid of latitudes and longitudes, imaginary lines running from east to west parallel to equator, and north to south from pole to pole respectively. Longitude also marks the time and defines the time zones. The international date line is all located approximately at 180 degree longitude opposite the prime meridian. Crossing the international date line changes the date by 1 day. इधर क्वेश्चंस और एक्टिविटीज़ आ जाएंगी जो कि हमारे लिए काम की नहीं है. बच्चों के काम की हैं तो बच्चे करेंगे. ठीक है, और इसके साथ ये हो जाता है चैप्टर समाप्त.